G'day and welcome to the round 4 game of the February 2022 Flying Swiss tournament. I'm playing against iippabella and it looks like we've got a nice interesting start here. The gap here has a jump of hyperspace level 2, which means we'll have some time before we come into contact. This jump is only hyperspace level 1, so that will be something I need to control early. iippabella can also make it there, so there will be conflict on the sides. This star, Altair, can't make it anywhere, while Pan can make it to Gu, then Formal Hout, and then only Yat. Looking at my timing, Mine Lava goes to Men Cullinan to only Yat at 16 hours, so I'll get there a whole 9 hours before iippabella. So I'm going to get my carrier to go there, and I've now got a hold in that side. Counting out iippabella's travel to Wasat, that takes 1 day, while I only take 4 hours, 20 hours total, to Izar. That's 23 hours. And that's also 23 hours. So now we have to work out how far will each one travel on the last tick. Gu to Izar. That's 0.1 light years travelled on the very last tick. If we go only Yat to Izar, that's 7 hours. To Wasat to Izar, that's also 7 hours. And no, that's wrong. Wasat to Izar, there will be almost 0.3 light years travelled on the final tick, so that won't win. If we go straight from only Yat to Izar, that's only 0.039. So if my carrier goes like this, then Izar will be mine. We can also see Akubens. iippabella will get that for sure. Right. So that's the front line there. Still need to work out a crew. So that's a total of 1 day to get there. And that would be 1 day, 2 hours. So that's in my territory. This game actually has a nicely defined boundary. So all these stars and above it will be mine, while all the stars below that line will belong to iippabella. Just trying to work out what the boundary will be on the other side. If we go across to Formal Hout, go across to Arc, so this star is mine, these 3 belong to iippabella. So this is the boundary. All these stars and north of that are mine to start off with. All those stars and south of that are iippabella's, and that will be the front line that we'll have to work on defending. I'll quickly send tags to mark out that front line, and I'll adjust how many ships are going to each place in just a second. So this ship can also go there. Okay, now I've got my frontline ships defined. It was actually much easier than usual. I can now do my backwards expansion. So I'm going to send a ship backwards to G, then Mog, and this one can go down this way, just taking all these stars. I used to build a ship for every possible direction, but lately I haven't been, because most stars just aren't worth it. So if I send the ship this way, that will take just under 2 days to get there. Whereas if I expand from this way, that will end up taking a day and 2/3 to get that way. So we can see that I only need the one carrier heading backwards this way, and once I get to Mog, I can build an industry there and a carrier to go this way. That saves me some money for just now, and it also means that I can send an extra ship forwards to battle for the front line. I'm going to send a ship back to the star, with which I can build another carrier. This one can come up here and head down, taking on these stars. Now it might actually be better for those stars if I make a jump this way. And so I've got that carrier expanding that way, and I can send another one down to that side. But this one will take the back stars in that area. And once again, if I deem one of these stars more important to take, I can always redirect the carriers or build an industry on one of the stars I do have and a carrier from there. Now the question is, what do I do about Wasat? If I want that star, I have to build another carrier, because the one heading to Izar can't stop at Wasat, or Izar will be lost to iippabella. So I actually think at this stage I'm going to see what it looks like when I arrive at Alniyat. That's 16 hours, so only 2 hours later I'll be able to see what ships they have around there, and in fact I'll be able to see beforehand once I capture Alniyat, and I'll be able to make my own decision. And the ships coming from Hodus, they'll only be 3 hours behind, so I can redirect and make my decisions then. Actually, they got there in 7. This one gets there in 4. Yeah, they're 3 hours behind. So that's my right front done. Now let's have a look at my left side. I want an extra carrier to come here so I can expand to the backward stars. This one can come this way, and then having a look at this, I've just got bird on there and mix here. I think I'll only stick with the one carrier to expand up this way. And I can always build an industry if I deem one of those stars more important. So now I've built all my expansion carriers, it's now time for me to build all my ship movement carriers. These 28 ships on Finn, I'm going to send them towards the left because I do want to have a strong front there. And once they get to Arc, I can redirect them. These 28 ships, I'll also send them this way. One thing worth noting is I have 7 ships. I have 7 stars to collect ships from, which means I can send 3 in each direction to start off with, and then I've got 1 extra to support wherever I think needs help. Finally, Alaraf. I think I'll want to send that one. I don't know. You know what? I'm going to send it towards the right, because down the right there are more stars there and I can definitely have a greater presence. Now I have been a little inefficient with building a carrier on both of these. I could have just built one on Alaraf and picked up from a tick and then moved down, but for now I think I'd like the carriers on the front line so I can determine what I want to do then and when. having a look over here, you can see that I've jumped from Rastaban to Yildan instead of just going from Rastaban to Arc to Yildan. So that is something I need to take into account. It's worth it to the point where I might just build an extra carrier. This one will skip this direction, can drop all the ships there and then head down here. And then the original carrier I had can stop at Arc. Right, okay, so now the next thing to do. We both have weapons level 4 and that is fixed all game. So that means when I defend a star, I want to defend it with a multiple of 4+1. That way I deal the most damage to any attacks they might send my way. So for a multiple of 4+1, that would be 13. 14 is too much, so I'm going to remove 1 from there. And actually, I'm going to add 1 to tax. Why? Because if I drop everything on Yildan, then I'll be dropping 13 ships and still have 1 more to expand down these stars. Meanwhile, I'll have 13 on Arc, and if I send the carrier back, it won't be as efficient, but I'll have ships coming from behind to help with that afterwards. And this carrier, I'll just tell it to go to Rastaban for now. I can decide where to go later. That's all my expansion complete. Now I want to work out what I want to research. In this game, manufacturing is expensive, banking is cheap, and terraforming is normal price. Scanning is also normal, as well as hyperspace range. Experimentation is off and weapons is fixed at level 4. So the last few games I've been doing a strategy where I start off by researching terraforming, banking and manufacturing all in the first cycle. Now that works well, but this game I'm just trying to work out if a level in hyperspace range would be helpful. Doing so would allow me to jump across here, which could be helpful, but I don't have vision there and I won't because that requires level 3 scanning. Actually, level 4 scanning. No, level 3 scanning. Level 3 scanning will take a little while to see, and so I don't think it's worth it for now. Besides, all the ships will be coming up here. The home star is closer to the back though, so it doesn't matter too much. Algedi will be their home star, so it doesn't matter too much. I don't necessarily need to, well, even if I try to attack, chances are I won't get through. So yeah, attacking here isn't worth it for now. The only other places where hyperspace range 2 might be helpful is at the end here, and correspondingly at the end here. But that is how far away? That's a little while away, and so I can afford to wait until cycle 2 to research hyperspace range. So I will stick with my general strategy. Terraforming first, manufacturing second, and banking third. So let's have a look at this. My general rule is to buy science until it gets to 100 credits, industry until it gets to 50 credits. So I've sorted by science cost, cheapest to most expensive, and I'll just buy a few science. So that is 7 science purchased. I'll have terraforming in 11 hours, which will be pretty good. I don't have many stars within my area to collect, so we'll just see how it goes. I might end up having to abandon manufacturing halfway through to complete banking before the end of the cycle, but that's not a world ender if that happens. Next, let's go industry, up to 50 credits per industry. I'll leave economy until the end of the cycle so that I can work out where would be the cheapest to buy from. Looking at the stats, we see that iippabella made 3 more carriers than me and has 2 more ships than me. 1 extra industry, so not surprising about the ships. The 3 extra carriers were probably for expansion. Maybe one went down this way and maybe another one went down this way to do slightly faster expansion, but I'm not too worried about that. I think in the long term, fewer carriers isn't a disadvantage. Also, having a look at the stats, we see that we also built the same amount of science. Looking at ships, we've got 1 ship with an ETA of less than 6 hours. That one can just come down this way. Research terraforming will be done in 5 hours. Having a look at the ships we've got on the stars, we've got 42 ships there, so we can build another carrier there to send off more ships. I'm going to send them towards the right because I sent the extra ship towards the left for turn 1. Okay. Finally, we can build some extra infrastructure. Menkalainen can build 2 extra science there, and we can put 2 industry there. Tick 12, I've got 1 event. I've completed terraforming. That will make purchasing infrastructure so much cheaper. We'll be able to buy 3 industry on this star. 3 industry and 3 science on this star. Manufacturing is next. Banking only 5 hours, so I'm going to put manufacturing then banking like that. Time to buy my infrastructure. Once again, I'm buying up until it costs 100. Do I want to buy more? Well, if I have a look at this, I need to buy more in order to get banking and manufacturing this cycle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work out, keep buying until I've got enough. This star. Now, if we go back, 9 hours for manufacturing, 4 hours for banking, and again, 8 hours for manufacturing, and it's 4 hours for banking, so that means I don't need to buy any more science until next cycle. Going for industry now. Once again, I'm purchasing until I hit 50 credits per star, and then moving on to the next. Next, I'll look at carriers. We've got my carrier here, going to tax 1. I'll just sit him here for now, so I've got some radar on what's happening, what iippabella is doing. I might not be able to see very far because my scanning isn't up to scratch, although I will be able to see that star. But I'll just sit it there for now until I've got backup ships coming in. These 29 ships, I'm going to send them down here. I want to take control of those stars quickly before iippabella can, and the best way to do that is to have a number of ships there. Speaking of which, I'm going to change the orders for this carrier to collect all, to do nothing at Yilden and then drop all at Furcad. That way I'm protecting the furthest star from attack, and the 29 ships can protect Yilden. All my carriers have ETAs of greater than 6 hours, so I don't need to worry about them anymore. Next, I've got 42 ships here. I'm going to send them towards the right this time, going to make an impact there. That carrier will take 17 hours to get to Menkulin, So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start a loop between these 3 stars here, and that will drop off at Menkalinon in 17 hours, so can actually wait on Hodus for 10 hours, then collect and then drop off, and I'll fix the loop later on. I forgot to check stats, but if we have a look, has 3 extra ships than me, 2 extra carriers, which means didn't buy any carriers last turn. In fact, we can have a look at the graphs. Same number of stars, no economy. Did buy industry, it looked like bought the same number of industry. So 1 ahead there and 1 ahead here. If we have a look at science, same number of science both times, and ships ever so slightly ahead of me. And that's all I need to do for this turn. We'll move on to the next turn. For tick 18, let's have a look at the data. iippabella has increased hyperspace range, same amount of terraforming. I forgot to check that before, but they got terraforming on the previous turn, so same turn as I did. If we have a look at my research, manufacturing in 2 hours and banking in 4 after that, so should be all good. Coming over here, we can see that iippabella went for Wasat and Izar. This ship will get to Izar in 6 hours. I'll be getting there in 5 hours. I don't want to go on without dropping ships, so I'll make sure I drop all at Izar before going on to Gakru. This ship heading to Wasat will arrive in 5 hours. This ship also going to Wasat will arrive in 5 hours, so that was a mistake on my part. I might not actually get there in time, but let's have a look to see. So he'll be travelling 1.33, it'll be 0.284 on the last tick, so that bears well for me. While here I'll be travelling 0.112 on the last tick. So I will capture Wasat first, and I'll defend successfully with my 28. iippabella's increased hyperspace range means can get to Menkalin, and actually can also get to Mine Lava and Hodus, but I don't need to worry about defending those, because by the time they get there, I'll be able to send ships backwards from Menkalinon to successfully defend. Having a look at my carriers, I've got a carrier here. We can see 28 ships there. I can't see any other ships coming in, so it's not safe for me to assume they're not there. I'm just going to leave the ships there and send my carrier backwards so that it can start picking up more ships. And in fact, I think travelling from Heka to Yokul to Rastaban is a nice loop that I'm going to implement now. I've also got a carrier here, ETA 3 hours on Alniyat. It looks like iippabella is not sending any ships backwards, so what I can do is I can send it forwards. I think if I can capture Akubens and Yum, then I won't need to really worry about any of these other... I won't need to worry about defending the crew, and I'll be able to take some control down here and have controlled the territory better. I've got another carrier here. This one, I'm going to send it straight towards Ark, and I might end up sending some towards Aldebaran later. But if we have a look at the timer, that's 8 hours, which means since Canopus and Aldebaran are 3 hours apart, I'll be able to get there in time. I'll be able to get there before he can defend it. This carrier, I'll just get it to stop at Wasat and defend their sit and see what iippabella is going to do. These ships, once again, can sit at arc and have a look at what they're doing. These 29 ships can come down, continue to move towards the front line. Once again, I've got 42 ships in Alcaraz. I'm going to send them to Rostaban way, because my previous set of ships are sent towards the right, so they can head that way. Finally, we're one turn before production, so it's time to buy economy. At this stage, I can buy economy on all of my stars safely. It doesn't matter, I won't be losing any of them. So I could just straight enable upgrades with everything, but I don't know if I might be spending economy on stars where I don't think it's actually worth it. So what I'll do is I'll just keep buying straight from here until I'll buy from here until I decide that the price is expensive enough. And that's it for now. So I did end up spending everything, but it'll leave it so I've got a nice income for next turn, for next cycle. And if we have a look, I've now got 58 economy, so that's pretty good. That's all for this turn. I've checked my research, I've checked the opponent's stats, and I've ordered my carriers, so it's time to submit my turn.